I have never been a details person. I have always been more of the big picture type. Big ideas, big social movements, creating big structures. But the details have never been my strong point. Don't ask me to memorize names and dates. But if you want to know the political and societal ideas behind a movement, just ask me. Unfortunately, sometimes it's those boring details that I need to focus on. Here's an example. I recently started riding the Green Line to my new job, back and forth from work. A few weeks ago, I got on the train with a good book, waiting to hear my Austin stop called. Next thing I know, it's the end of the line. They're kicking me off the train, 54th and Cermak. I got on the pink line instead of the green line. That means 45 extra minutes commuting because I forgot to look at which train opened the doors in front of me. I told someone, and they were shocked that I could go 10 or 12 stops without noticing I was on the wrong train. A few days later, I got on the train, and I looked at that map, pink line route, and I counted. And I was like, yeah, I went 11 stops. Then I sat down, and I read my book. Next thing I know, they are kicking me off the train, 54th and Cermak. I have actually not only gotten on the pink line instead of the green line, I had done it while thinking about the last time I did it and looking at the map. And I still didn't realize I was on the wrong train. I don't know how an intelligent person does that. So there's an interesting detail to this, and that's what book I was reading. I was reading Driven to Distraction. This is true. Recognizing and coping with attention deficit disorder. Yes. I rode the wrong train and I didn't notice the details of the map on the train line on the wall because I was reading a book about ADHD. I was reading this book to have a better understanding of my children, both of whom had ADHD. It's fascinating. And after the second time I rode the pink line, I realized it's totally me. So the details of, I'm going to tell you a little about the details of my home life. They can be a bit overwhelming. I have a household full of people and pets whose needs are a little beyond average. I have a rescue cat who has to be gluten-free or he pees on things and I have to give him steroids. I have a rescue dog who takes both Prozac and gabapentin. Or he bites and he has these OCD episodes that involve continual movement in a weird pattern that includes twirling and going up and down the steps, a high-pitched, really breathy whine, and you're all laughing, it's not funny when you're there, and it goes on for like 10 hours. Yeah. So the dog thinks he's a cat, and the cat acts like a dog. Both of my kids have ADHD and executive functioning disorders and some other things, as well as being teenagers with hormones and tons of activities. They also have to manage remembering to organize their things between two homes, divorced parents in different neighborhoods. We have a lot of moving pieces to continually juggle. Not the least of which is making sure everybody takes their medication. Sometimes it's hard to keep it all straight. One morning, in a rush to get everyone out the door to school, I shoved a peanut butter covered Ritalin in my dog's mouth instead of his Prozac. Luckily, I figured this out quickly when I went to give my son his medicine, and there was only the dog's medicine lying on the counter. Timothy, the dog, is a 17-pound ball of nerves. I quickly called the vet to see what I should do, and the vet let me know that he could not survive this if I did not get him to vomit the Ritalin. So I poured 3 doses of hydrogen peroxide down his throat while praying loudly and begging him to puke. I finally gave up and I drove him in a frenzy to the vet. Just as we arrived, he had vomited a big pile of hydrogen peroxide, peanut butter, and Ritalin all over the back seat of my car. But since I was on the way to the vet and they knew I was coming, I ran in and told them. This cost me $95. As they came out, the vet assistant with a roll of paper towels wiped up my back seat, said, "Oh yeah, this is Ritalin." Took me into the vet and the vet said, "Don't give your dog Ritalin." Nice. Throughout the years of parenting kids with ADHD, I've often joked with friends about my having it. And they always laugh and agree, but in my head I've always thought, well, they're just laughing along with me because it's a little funny, right? One of my friends used to call cooking with me short attention span theater. But she was just kidding, right? I've managed to have a successful career, remain creative and produce some writing I'm proud of, have deep and intense friendships, rescue numerous pets, play in a couple of really terrible bands, and most importantly, very intentionally raise my amazing and somewhat challenging children. So I thought if I really had ADHD, I couldn't accomplish all of this, right? Then I read this book and I thought, wow, maybe I should look into this. I told a couple of friends, and one of them said to me, I thought we determined this years ago. She, by the way, is sitting at that table. Another said to me, well, duh. Still, I wondered if I had that thing that medical students get. You know, when they think they have that rare and deadly disease that they're studying, and they suddenly interpret every ache and pain as this new light, right? I didn't want to be that navel-staring mom that thought it was all about me. At the same time, if it's true, why wouldn't I take it seriously? So I took the test in the book, and it said, yes, I have ADHD. So I did an experiment. I swallowed one of the pills from my son's medication bottles, and I went to work, and it was absolutely amazing. I plowed through all those small, boring tasks that I hate to do, and I took care of a week's worth of those little tasks before noon on Monday. My usual work coping strategies, which include lots and lots of glasses of water, hot tea with soy milk, trips to the bathroom, and exercise breaks where I go up and down 17 flights of stairs, were drastically reduced. Then I took my book to my therapist and I announced, I have ADHD. She was the first person that was surprised by this. I presented to her my evidence. I said, look, I've grown and changed enormously in the last few years. And yet I remain impulsive, restless, and easily excitable. So she tested me. Test results showed no doubt ADHD. In fact, I tested far over twice as high as I needed to have an ADHD diagnosis. So wow, I thought, I am not a hot mess. I have ADHD. That Monday I went to my doctor and I said, I presented her the note from my therapist and I said, I'd like to have medication. Now my son and I, we can share our meds as long as we don't give them to the dog.